Crazies, yes, welcome back to the lab. Lee here. You see that title too as well. We're talking about 8 new Mandela Effects. That is right, 8 new Mandela Effects to blow your mind, make you question the reality that we live in, and just blow it away like we always do. But before we get that going, remember some of these Mandela Effects might not be new to you. They will be new to somebody else, as well as remember to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and leave me your comments down below so we can talk about these Mandela Effects and the others around the world. So without further ado, let's get this moving, man. We're talking about number 8, a recent new one of 2022, and we're talking about the late and great Coolio himself. Yes, Coolio himself, Gangsta's Paradise. I'll be there. Well, I'll see you when I get there. A whole bunch of different songs that this man has created to put in the airways for our playlist as we grew up to this day too as well. Well, this one has to do with the spelling of Coolio. That is right. That is right. How do you remember spelling Coolio? Do you remember spelling Coolio with the C, or do you remember spelling Coolio with the K? As we tick it down, give you a second. If you are saying with the C, well, you are correct. You're correct in this reality, and you've been correct the whole entire life. You've been alive in this reality of this matrix that we live in. But the Mandela Effect is that many of us, including myself, including Super, including Recall Reality, we remember Coolio being with a K. Yes, Coolio spelled with a K. I know it sounds weird. That's how I remember it, because it was Coolio. He was a Coolio guy. He was a Coolio cat. I know I just really went back on that, showed my age. But I remember it being spelled with the K and not the C. But also I remember the C too as well. But the K has always been prevalent to me in my reality. And if that's the question, is where's the proof? Well, here's some proof there in front of you right there. You see it spelled with the K, Coolio. Coolio on stage with Madonna. Coolio, Coolio, with the K, with the K, with the K, with the K. Oh, you gotta love it, you gotta love it. But how do you remember this wonderful music producer, songwriter, influencer, and the late and great Coolio being spelt? Do you remember it always being spelt with a C? Or do you remember, like most of us remember it, Coolio being spelt with a K because he was so cool?
Just thinking about tomorrow clears away the cobwebs.
Oh, a lovely Orphan Annie and that wonderful song, Tomorrow. Yes, you know the song. You're now singing it in your head. I was singing it while I was doing all this research. I remember my mom singing this to me when I was a kid, and you know how it goes. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're only a day away. Yes, you heard me say it. You're only a day away. Well, the lyrics of this song has been changed because it's not only anymore. It is you're always a day away. Yes, tomorrow you're always a day away. I don't always remember that way. I never remember that way. It's always been only a day away because, like I said, I remember singing it when I was a kid. I just sung it to you now. My mom sung it to me. But there are now 2 versions of this. The first version I'm going to show you is going to be the newer one with Jamie Foxx in it. And in this one, she sings Always a Day Away. Listen. You heard her sing it the way it has been written on the lyrics, as you saw too. Always a day away. But here is the original version of that song from the original movie Annie. Listen.
Tomorrow, I love you. Tomorrow, you're only a day away.
She sings, you're only a day away. I don't know if this was his flip-flopping back and forth going what it's doing. Maybe it's hit one, hit the other. It boggles my mind, but yes, yes, yes. How do you remember that song? Do you always remember that song being tomorrow you're only a day away? Or do you remember it the way it is now in this current reality, always a day away?
Let's do the snuffle.
Oh, this one's a personal one to me. You saw right there. We're talking about the great elephant himself. He was so huggly and cuddly, we called him Snuffleupagus. That is right, Snuffleupagus. I'm putting the spelling up here for you right now. Snuffleupagus. How do you remember Snuffleupagus being spelt? Do you remember it being spelt number 1, the first one on the top, Snuffleupagus? Or do you remember it being spelt like the second one you see, Snuffleupagus? Huh? Well, as you're thinking about this, I am telling you right now, it is not spelt on like the first one, the number one. It's not spelt snuffleupagus, not spelt the way I guess I pronounced it, not guess spelt the way I spelled it, or they called me, my girlfriend in 8th grade called me snuffleupagus. I know. But I remember snuffleupagus being spelt like number one. But apparently snuffleupagus has never been spelt like that. It's been spelt like number two. Ah, it hurts my feelings. You know why it hurts my feelings? Because it looks totally wrong to me. Snuffleupagus? Snuffleupagus? What? No, it was always snuffleupagus. It was always snuffleupagus, not sluffapuffagus. This just blows my mind on this one. But how do you remember snuffleupagus from Sesame Street? Do you remember it being spelled like number one? Or do you remember it being spelled like number two? Which just looks just gustus to me.
Stand there, try and brace it with something!
Star Wars, once again, always a gem of mine. Always love Star Wars, and there's always a Mandela effect with Star Wars too. And we're going right back to Star Wars, and we're going back to that scene when they're in the compactor, they're getting smushed, they're all going, they're trying to help me, they're trying to hold the walls together. Then you got Luke calling up their CP3O, please turn off the now. Well, how do you remember it?
Listen to me. Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level, will ya? Do you copy? Shut down all the garbage mashers on the detention level.
No, shut them all down.
Turn off the garbage compactors. Turn off the garbage compactors. That is totally wrong for me in my history, in my universe, in my mind of Star Wars and many Star Wars geeks as myself. It was never garbage compactor. It was always trash compactor. Turn off the trash compactor. Turn off the trash compactor now. And even when you look this up on YouTube, you see trash compactor. You see trash compactor. You see trash compactor. In my reality, always trash compactor. But what is your reality? Do you remember that scene? Do you remember him calling out, yelling, turn off the garbage compactor? Or do you remember it like a lot of us Star Wars nerds remember it? Turn off the trash compactor. Thank you, Jim. Yes, we are breaking here live in the lab, and we're going to be talking about actually probably a mismemory or flip-flop of misperceptions of products. Yes, we are going to kind of go back to the Fruit of Balloon, but before we hit that Fruit of Balloon, I don't know if you know about this company. It's come over from one of the viewers, and he's brought me up to his Catch Brothers. I don't knock me from saying it wrong. It's just my fucking English. But as I looked this up, and I was looking this up, as I was looking at their logo, you can see the cornucopia on the back of their label on their fruit baskets and their fruits and all of that stuff. And this company is located out of Boston itself, Boston, Massachusetts. That's in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. And the thing is with this one, maybe that we are thinking about this fruit company as having the cornucopia and misconstruing it with their label, with the Fruit of Balloon label. Now, he could be right, could possibly be right. I can't knock that because some people might have that, some people might remember that company and flipping it back and forth. But in my case, I'm going, probably many of ours too, I have to say there's no way that I have flip-flopped those two logos in a sense, just because I just learned about this company, looking this up and doing the research. I recently just learned about this company, and for most of you out there too as well, you're probably thinking about it. You've never heard of this company before, or you might have, but there's no way. And it's just like me, there's no way too as well. I lived in Europe for when I was a kid, and I remember seeing the Fruit of Balloon symbols on my undies, my whitey tighties. That's just how just kids, you remember shit like that. And I think if I would know that company, I think I would recognize it or something like that, because I'm pretty good at that. But I didn't know this company until I started doing this research. Like I said, this only goes for me to many others that don't know this company. But the people who do know this company, probably from Massachusetts, who does know this company, might have that mismemory flip-flop of seeing that cornucopia and throwing it over and thinking that the Fruit of the Balloon had that. But I brought this up there on the breaking news because I wanted to have your opinions on this, because I just can't go on mine myself, because it's just myself. It's you, the viewers, the audience, your minds too as well, that puts this all together. So what do you think about this one? Do you remember this company, Cobra? Do you remember it? Or is it possible that we might have just misremembered companies? Or are you kind of just like me, that there's just no way Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia? And just let me know in the comments, because thinking about this and talking about this, I feel like I'm digging a hole. But for me, in my mind, I've never known this company, and there's no way I could have flip-flopped and misremembered something like that. Yes, that wonderful, wonderful book and movie, as you saw there, Sweeney Todd. Yes, Sweeney Todd, when he makes the meat pies out of the people. If you haven't seen it, sorry, spoiler alert. But yes, we are talking about Sweeney Todd, and actually we're talking about the title of this movie, Sweeney Todd. Now, my reality, a lot of people's reality, even Super's reality, it was always Sweeney Todd. It was just Sweeney Todd. Yeah, Sweeney Todd. There was no other thing past that, right? Right? Am I right? Yeah, it was just Sweeney Todd. But that's not the case anymore, because in this reality, it has a full title. Yes, it has a full title, just like Star Wars New Hope, just like, Transformers Dark Side of the Moon. This one is now called Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Demon Barber of Fleet Street. That's exactly what the name of the title is. There's no second movie. There's no number 2, number 3. It is literally Sweeney Todd, the one with Johnny Depp. Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street. It was never the title of that. It was never the title of that. I even went to a play about, 8 years ago to see Sweeney Todd, and it was just called Sweeney Todd. But what do you remember of this title? Do you always remember this title being Sweeney Todd, Demon Barber of Fleet Street? Or are you like me, many of us in Super, know that it was just called Sweeney Todd?
Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it. Floors, doors, walls, halls.
Mr. Clean, yeah. He cleans everything. He cleans windows, he cleans stoves, he cleans toilets and bathrooms, even cleans his head sometimes. And this Mandela effect for Mr. Clean itself is actually, well, take a look at this picture real quick. Now, look at Mr. Clean. Look him in his eye. Now scroll to his ear. Yeah, you see that? Do you see an earring in Mr. Clean? That's correct, yeah. You see an earring in Mr. Clean. That is exactly how you see it. That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what the Mandela effect is today for Mr. Clean. His earring. Did he always have an earring? Many people, just like myself, don't remember him ever having an earring at all. He never had an earring. It blows my mind. I'm thinking maybe this is the earring that the laughing cow is missing, from the nose ring to the earring. I don't know. It boggles me. But Mr. Clean never ever had an earring in his ear. It weirds me out. It boggles me, just because, let alone the time when Mr. Clean was out. You got to think when Mr. Clean was made back then. Men having earrings in their ears was kind of shunned upon. They wouldn't show that kind of thing. It was just not that. It wouldn't be like the household everyday product to put a guy with a whole bunch of ear with an earring in his ear trying to clean the house. It makes no sense to me in the advertisement sense back then. But he's always had an earring in his ear. But how do you remember Mr. Clean himself, the bald-headed earring wearing fool now? Do you always remember him having an earring in his ear? Or you, like me and many others, remember Mr. Clean not having an earring at all?
Come on, it's all right. Look, the water is stiff.
Now we are talking about Bambi. Flower. It's not a flower, silly, but we're talking about Bambi. Yes, Bambi, that great classic Disney movie. And we're talking about the Mandela effect in Bambi is actually, when did Bambi's mother pass away, or die, I should say. When did Bambi's mama die? Now, if you're like me, and many of us, and we're talking about many of us, remember Bambi's mother passing away right in the beginning of the movie. Right in the beginning of the movie, within 10 minutes of the start of the movie is when Bambi's mother passed away in my reality and many others. Yeah, you see the scene, snow falling, going in there, so eating. She hears the shot, tells Bambi to run. She's running. Bambi's going. She's running. Bambi's going. And then you don't see Mama again. You knew what happened because it was it was like the saddest part of the movie. Like, oh great, it's so sad already. But apparently, his mother never passed away in the beginning of the movie. Never was shot in the beginning of the movie. Didn't die in the beginning of the movie. Bambi's mother passed away, died, and got shot in the middle of this movie. You heard me right. In the middle of this movie, as you see that right there, read it. Bambi's mother passed away, died in the middle of this movie. So you're telling me 30, 40 minutes within this movie is when she got shot. We watched 30, 40 minutes of Bambi and all of them. 40 minutes, nothing happened other than that. And you're telling me she got shot in the middle of the movie and then Bambi started the journey, right? Makes no sense to me. That just it doesn't seem like enough time for Disney to do what Disney does. You know, he got to meet Thumper. He's got to meet Flower. He's got to meet his girl, right? And it's what it is. I always remember Bambi's mother dying in the beginning, first 10 minutes of this movie, because that was the whole gist of this. Knowing that you have lost, you have so much to gain. That was the message. But how do you remember this? Do you always remember Bambi's mother passing away in the beginning of this movie? Or are you like this in this reality of this dimension? Like, what are you talking about, Lee? She always died in the middle of this movie. There you go. 8 new more Mandela Effects to make you blow your mind, make you question the reality we live in. Like I said, if you like this at any time, y'all remember to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and leave me those comments down below so we could talk about these. These are pretty cool. These are pretty interesting. These really boggle my mind, and it's nice to see them. With that said, man, y'all remember to always keep your mind open, because those eyes will always see everything in front of them. Y'all stay crazy.
Hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. I'm going to show them a world without you. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.